lightning to my soul. Should've known that she was making witchcraft. Should've known that she would steal my soul. She asked me for a dance, then she cast her temptress spell. Seductive moves and whispers like a siren sent from hell. She told me where her room was and she beckoned me to go. Her body heat washed over me like a steaming lava flow. I should have known that she was making witchcraft. I should have known that she would steal my soul. I should have known that she was making witchcraft. The lure of her seduction made the devil's dark nights moan.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you. Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Good evening or morning, depending on your time zone. From the Pacific to the Atlantic to you worldwide. Get yourself a cup of java and find a comfy, easy chair. And get ready for Gary and his guest on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark. And now, here's Gary.
And here I am with our guest tonight, Jack Kenna, and James Kirschbaum out there, my co-host here tonight, who's quiet as a church mouse. Anyway, I'll tell you what, down here at the compound, it is still raining cats, dogs, and cows, if you believe that. Well, I don't believe the cow part, but I tell you, it's raining like I have not seen it rain in years. Now, I wish I actually had a boat because I could go one end of my property to the other without even putting any rubber to the road. Anyway, Jack, how you doing?
All right, Gary. Still doing good.
Yeah.
Still here with you.
That's good. Now, if somebody, what is it like when you get a call, what do you do? What decision do you make on whose house is going to be investigated and what you're going to do and what type of equipment? And give us the whole thing from A to Z.
Okay. All right. So here's what happens. If somebody contacts us and saying they have paranormal activity or they believe they do and they want us to come out and investigate it, one of the very first things I do is, usually they'll contact us by email. They usually won't call us. They'll contact us by email first. But if they call, I will talk to them, whether they email us or whatever. I will call them and talk with them. Then I do ask them. Each of our teams has a 12-page form we send to them, or they can go online to our website and they can fill it out online and submit it to us. That is one thing, and the only thing we require from anybody is to fill out that form. That's the only thing we'll ever ask of them. We don't charge for our services or anything like that. We don't ask for money. We don't look for money. But we do ask for that form, and that form covers a lot of things. Everything from, the location of your house, your contact information, who's living in the house, or the location, even if it's a business or whatever. And when it gets to more of like the residential type cases, it asks more about, because we have two different forms, one for businesses and one for residential. In residential, we ask them, what type of medications they're taking, who's taking what. Is there any history of psychological issues or things like that? Any history of traumatic events? And we get into a lot of stuff. And we also cover the religion and everything else. And so we ask for all this stuff, as well as what are they experiencing, what's going on, who first experienced it, where does it take place, mostly in the home. So there's a ton of stuff we ask them. And we just say, fill that out as completely as you possibly can. The more information you give us, the better we can assist you. And that's the only thing we ever require is that form. And that usually weeds people out pretty quick. Between the people who really want your help and the ones who just kind of want to talk to somebody in the paranormal or meet somebody in the paranormal. We've come across that in the past, which is why we use this form. People who really want your help, they will have that form back to you within 30 minutes. And it's a long form. They will fill it out and they will have it back to you within 30 minutes or within the next day if it's late at night when you call. And the people who really don't, no, you never get it from them, So which kind of tells you, all right, then really not that urgent to have me come out and check the house out, are you? So it does weed people out pretty quick. But then you get to focus on real people who really want your help or are afraid or they really have some serious things going on. They really want your help. So you get to focus on those cases better. So once you've got that, they fill that out. We talk to them again, and we're actually available for them anytime that they need us between when we get that form back and when we set up the date to investigate. Because sometimes that can take a little bit just based on people's schedules, things like that. But we try to get it out there as quickly as we can for these people. So sometimes it might take a week or two. To set something up so the team can go out. Our teams are small. Each one of those teams I mentioned, there's not more than 10 people on any of those teams. We keep them small. It's easier to work with that way. And you can help the client, I think, out a little bit better that way because you have a small team of your own, but you also have multiple other teams to reach out to if you need additional expertise on something. Because each one of those teams brings something different. So you have this network of people you can reach out to if you need additional help, which is good to do if you are investigating. Don't just stick to what your own team knows. Reach out to other teams who maybe have more experience with things and ask them, at least just for advice, if not help. Because most teams are more than willing to try to give you some help and some advice when you're investigating. Even us teams have been doing it for a longer time. Sometimes we hit on something and it's like, not really sure about this. Let's talk to so-and-so. As I know they've done more cases like that, which is maybe something demonic involved or something like that. Or you think it's demonic, at least anyway. So you reach out to these people. But once we have that all set up, we go out to do the investigation. Our whole team meets up actually just prior to doing the investigation. Maybe go out, get dinner first, coalesce, talk about everything, and then head over to the investigation within the time frame we set. We have all of our equipment with us. We decide, usually we'll bring everything we've got, and then we can decide what we need to use once we get there. Because sometimes as you're going, you never know what you're going to run into on any investigation, right? So sometimes you need a piece of equipment that you maybe thought you didn't, so it's better to have it in the car than back at your house, which may be 3 hours away. So we bring everything. I mean, soup and nuts. But we try to keep it simple at the same time. I don't use an SLS camera on every investigation. I don't use a thermal imager on every investigation. But I do use on every investigation, and each one of the team members does, a digital audio recorder, because EVPs is going to be what 90% of your probably evidence is going to be. We do use the infrared or full spectrum cameras, because you might catch something with that, as well as potentially catching audio on your video, right? You might catch an EVP or disembodied voice on your video audio as well. So we bring all these things. We also bring a little bit more down to earth. Well, the old style stuff. We use divining rods. We do the flashlight thing sometimes. I'm not a big one on the flashlight thing, but I'll use it from time to time if I think it might reveal something. K2s, EMF meters, and you use a lot of those to check for just high EMF in the home or things like that, as well as try to use it for spirit communication. They're just looking for strange anomalies. We have found with both EMF meters and K2s just free-floating. I would say it's almost like a giant ball. They always seem to be the same, about the size of a beach ball. But they're these free-floating energy sources that you can't track back to anything electrical. It's very strange. And it'll be maybe in a certain spot for 10 or 15 minutes, and then it's gone. But you're able to measure it. And it's always something about the size of a beach ball. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But it's about that size. Pretty strange. It's very strange. But so we do all that. We investigate. We collect all of our, I like to call it data, because it's not evidence until you really find something. So we review all that audio and video data, which we would probably have. We typically have hundreds of hours of that stuff by the time we're done investigating. We all work for a living, too. So we, unfortunately, unlike the guys you see on the TV shows, we don't have a week to investigate a place, okay? We've got, maybe 8 to 9 hours. So we take a little bit different approach, at least for my own stuff. I like to try to reach out to whatever's there, just like reaching out to a person, trying to talk to them, trying to find out what they're there for, what's important to them. It's kind of like I'm talking to you guys now. I'm doing a lot of talking, but you have me on your show for a reason, right? So I try to ask questions just like you do. Find out more about maybe who's there, if there is somebody there. What's their purpose of being there? You look into the history as well. It's part of something you do after. I like to do it both before and after the investigation is done, because I might learn something else while we're investigating, and we'll go back to the history of the location and start looking for certain things. But you get back and you review all this stuff as a team. Now, we don't all live in the same location. We have some of us are in New York, some of us are in the Boston area, but we all talk on the phone and we all get together and we share the files, through the internet and stuff these days. We have an online folder that we use that we share, and we can put the things up there. It's private, and we can each access the stuff there, or we can put up something that we found that we want everybody to listen to, and we can share them that way, and everybody can sit and listen to it, while we're talking on the phone. And then once we think we've got a handle on what's going on, we still are talking, even after the investigation. We're still talking to the client on almost at least a weekly basis. Because it takes time to go through hundreds of hours of data, right, of audio and video, right? You don't do that in one day. So you're still talking to them. They're still asking you questions, and then you finally do get to go back. You go through stuff with them, what you found. We'll listen to this stuff. But we take it a step further, and we'll continue to work with them. If they want to help resolve whatever haunting might be going on, we'll work with them towards that. And what a lot of shows really don't show you, and a lot of people getting into the paranormal don't really realize, is with most, I'd say 99% of them, to really help resolve a haunting, the people that you're helping need to make a lifestyle change, because it really revolves around things they're doing, is what we've found in real cases. Things that the people are doing, or things that are in these people's past that they haven't dealt with a lot or at all, which is some really bad stuff, is what's in